G'day and welcome to another video with Better Pics. Just wanted to create a quick how-to tutorial this morning just around the process of resizing and changing a bulk number of images into either a different size or a different format. So say for example, if you have a bulk number of images that are in a TIFF format and you want to change them all to a JPEG, this process allows you to do that fairly quickly and easily and with a level of automation. So you don't have to convert each image individually, which is of a huge benefit, particularly if you have a lot of images like I do for various reasons. It's also super handy if, say for example, you want to convert a large number of images to a different size. So say for example you have 100 full resolution TIFF files and you would like to change those to a JPEG and also resize them to 1000 pixels on the longest edge. Just as an example, you're able to do that in one go using the same method, which is a really great thing because it can obviously be very tedious if you're doing it manually and doing it image by image. Alright, so we've just got a sample folder here of images that I've photographed in Europe and the UK, mostly Scotland. And what we're going to do is jump over to Photoshop and we're going to resize all of these images. They're currently full resolution JPEGs. They were shot with a 24 megapixel camera. So you can see down on the bottom right hand corner here, they're 6000 by 4000 pixels and they're currently at a print resolution of 300 pixels per inch. Which is a pretty standard one. So what we're going to do is jump on over to Photoshop, and if we head up to File, all the way down to Scripts and Image Processor. So File, Scripts and Image Processor. And if we click on that one, we can see we have a number of options pop up, a new dialog box. First one and most important one is Select Folder. So you need to select the folder of images that you're wishing to convert. So this one I've already got selected, so Sample Images and Europe. Now, the second option is you can select the location to save the processed images. I generally have it saved in the same location, and what that does is it just creates an extra folder within the folder that you already have existing with the new file format, which I'll show you shortly, allowing you to know exactly where the images are being saved to. Now, if you would like to select a new folder, all you need to do is click on that one below and then click on Select Folder, and you may have a specific folder that you've created in a specific place that just helps your workflow. For me, I like to save it in the same location, and it will automatically generate a new folder based on the file type that you choose below, which we'll go through in a second. The third option is file type. Now, there's three options. You can save it as a JPEG, you can save it as a PSD or a Photoshop document, or you can save it as a TIFF, which, as many of you will know, is an uncompressed format, so there's no loss of quality. For this sample, I'm going to show you the option to save as a JPEG. So, if you click on the JPEG option, you can see the other options become active. You can choose the quality. I've got it at 12, which is the maximum quality you can. I've got it, you can choose to convert it to an sRGB, which is a common thing if you're publishing images on the web. So say for example, you've created a large number of images and you would like those published on the web. The best thing to do is convert that to the color space of sRGB, which is where your images will look their best whenever viewed on the web, be it social media or a website. You also have the option here, Resize to Fit. Now you can uncheck that, and basically what that will do is just simply convert your images from, in this example, a TIFF to a JPEG. So it'll still be a full resolution JPEG. However, if you would like to also resize, you can see we have the options for width and height in pixels here. They're the only options that we have. And what that width and height is the width of the longest edge and the height of the longest edge. So say for example, it's a horizontal photo or a landscape photo, or landscape orientation I should say, then the width will be the longest edge, and that's where you determine the pixel dimensions of the width or the longest edge. Say for example it's in portrait orientation, then the height would be the longest edge. So in this case I have both horizontal and vertical images, and I want both of them to be 1000 pixels on the longest edge, which is why I've got 1000 in both of those options there. So just keep that in mind if you are resizing. Both of those values relate to the longest edge of the photograph. Now we also have options here for PSD, and we have options here for TIFF. And again, we have the options to put in specific dimensions. Now, if you have all three checked, then 3 folders will be created, one with JPEGs, one with PSD, and one with TIFF. Same if it's 2 folders will be created, and so on. Generally, I use this tool for creating images into JPEGs and resizing bulk images, and it's certainly the example that we're going to give today. So just keep that in mind. If you would like to convert them into other file formats, the option is there. The fourth option down the very bottom, preferences, you can actually run an action. Now I've got that checked at the moment, and I have an action saved into Photoshop that creates a white border around the images that is 30 pixels around the image. So 30 pixels across the top and bottom, and 30 pixels across both sides. Now, if you want to do that, great. And you can create any actions you like. For example, watermark, or you might want to apply some sort of edits or output adjustments to your images. It's entirely up to you. Keeping in mind that you do need to create that action first before you're able to run it. It needs to exist. So whatever action you would like to run, this is where you do it. If you don't want to run an action, you simply uncheck that box and nothing will happen. I always have include ICC profile checked, just as a matter of course. Obviously, we're also we're having the convert profile to sRGB, as I talked about earlier. So that's all the parameters set, and all I need to do now is hit run. So you can see Photoshop is now cycling through all of those images that I have. You'll see that there's horizontal and vertical images, and you can see that there's actually different sized images as well. So I do have some panoramas in there, so they will be different to the normal 2:3 orientation or 2:3 image ratio, which is totally fine. Remember that that resize process is on the longest edge only. So if you have different shaped images, even square images, it will simply make those adjustments based on the longest edge. If you have a square image where both edges are the same length, then no problem at all. It will simply just make that adjustment based on the longest option that you've selected. In this case, it's 1000 by 1000, so the image will be 1000 by 1000 pixels in both horizontal and vertical. Excellent, so that's completed. So now if we just go back into Bridge, we can have a look at that folder that contains all of those images from Europe, and you can see there is now a JPEG folder that's been created that wasn't there before, as you know. If we click into that folder, you can see all of those images are there, and if we just click on one of those photos, you can see it now is 1000 by 667 pixels at 300 ppi. It does maintain the same pixel per inch setting that you originally had on your photograph. So that's resized all of those images. As you can imagine, that's far quicker and far more efficient than if I'd done it manually image by image. And keeping things organized, it has its own folder of JPEG. I can simply now rename that folder, and normally what I'll do is just put in 1000px so that I know that folder contains images that are JPEGs and 1000 pixels on the longest edge, just to make things a little bit easier to find if I'm looking for specific options. Excellent, I hope you've enjoyed this video today on the process to quickly and easily resize images within Photoshop or change the format. So if you're changing from your starting format to either a JPEG, PSD or a TIFF file. Thanks again, and look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.